And to unpack this, I'm joined by security expert Salaudeen Hashim. Good evening. Glad to have you join me.
Thank you very much for having me, and good evening.
All right. Let me start by asking what's your thought on the position of the Speaker of the House of Representatives that suicide bombers were imported?
Yeah, unfortunately, again, I think it is very easy for lawmakers to quickly make conclusion over issues and incidences without waiting for some additional detail regarding what exactly transpired. It tells very clearly again that it is a failure of intelligence. And again, that is where the lawmakers contradict themselves and perhaps again put to question the capacity and the capability of the armed forces to gather intelligence. Intelligence gathering in situations like this is fundamental. And if there were recruitments happening and they were transported and they spent time even brainwashing them, and the intelligence could not pick anything near what was going to happen, and then of course couldn't even transmit this to the potential destination where the attack eventually occurred, and that they were actually seen to have mobilized, deployed, and then of course executed that particular attack. It's actually a complete question on the capacity of the entire intelligence community in this country as to whether or not they could pick intelligence.
Yes, Mr. Hashim, we'll get there. We'll get there. You talked about intelligence gathering. What does this say about our security architecture? Couldn't we have averted this attack?
Yeah, most definitely. I think the conversation around our security architecture is an ongoing one, telling us very clearly that we need to rejig and then, of course, recalibrate the existing security architecture. We cannot continue to have incidences and situations where citizens are not participants in the entire value chain of security decision-making. It is only when citizens have confidence in the state that they are able to help you gather intelligence, and then, of course, they could deploy that intelligence also for purposes of ensuring response from the side of the state. But where it becomes impossible, it therefore puts a question mark on the fact that there is a need to find what exactly is the missing link. And I can guarantee you that the most fundamental missing link is the inability to inspire citizens' ownership of their own security system, and then, of course, see them to take ownership. And this is so because of the long years of deprivation and perhaps some level of grievances that people have developed against the state.
Yes,
so again, what are the confidence building measures? I think these are some of the things that should be done.
Yes, apologies for butting in. Now, talking about concerns, there's been concerns, regarding IDP camps in Borno State, now known as super camps, as a breeding ground for this Boko Haram militants. How true or false is this?
That intelligence has been out there for a very long time. Considering the work that I have done and the interactions that I have also had with a number of people in different camps, I have heard threats, particularly from the women, telling their other women or people that look, their men will soon attack. And then, of course, they have developed some level of sympathy for these guys. And unfortunately, the state has not also helped to de-radicalize them. And we have seen instances where these women have clearly demonstrated that what was happening was only temporal and just a transition, and that again there was going to be some level of resurgence. So again, it puts to question how very casual our state architecture has been in terms of profiling information and how they deploy them. These information are not new in various IDP camps. They are there. As a matter of fact, these women have been able to find some elements to transmit information to some of the people who are still in the forest, perhaps to some of them to get safe passage, and to some of them for purposes of keeping them safe.
Now,
but I can guarantee you that the state has not. The state has not completely gotten it right in terms of how to manage it.
Permit me to follow up on your line of thought. You talked about women, being at the forefront of these suicide bombings. Now, we understand from this recent attack, 4 female suicide bombers were involved, were apprehended, in this recent attack in Gwoza community. And also, we have reports that, in fact, 30 of them were released to the public for this activity. What do you think is the motive behind using women as suicide bombers compared to men?
Yeah, it is easy. Women are soft tissues, particularly within the security balance. The kind of SOP that is actually deployed to women is entirely different from men. And then, of course, the female gender is already implicated in terms of ensuring that they have become a weapon in the hands of terrorist organizations. And this is actually also, again, not entirely new. But again, it is about how the system itself has processed all of this information and again channeled dedicated and specific programming towards ensuring that particularly women, with the women gender, have some level of deliberate remodeling programming that allows for reintegration to happen. We have not seen any specific female gender reintegration approaches or methodology or even model that has been designed. What we have seen through the Operation Safe Corridor are mostly the combatants who are just there with a number of programming that is ongoing. But if you see most of the women, they are either allowed or left to development interventions to begin to do some psychosocial support arrangement for them, which I believe is not sufficient. Again, it is because the system has not appreciated to what extent these women have become terrible weapon in the hands of the terrorist organization. So it is very important to redesign their threat matrix. The threat matrix would again suggest very clearly that the female gender are becoming even more deadly as a weapon than men, considering that they are able to conceal the biology, their mode of dressing, and then of course their soft approaches also is an issue.
Mr. Hashim, apologies for butting in. In 30 seconds, I'd like you to answer. You talked about reintegration. Now, some school of thought say repentant Boko Haram members reintegrated into the society sort of act as accomplices to aid mayhem and also carry out successful bombings in the society. You may recall in 2016 where a certain group of or batch of repentant Boko Haram members, about 95 of them, were integrated into the society. They underwent various trainings, skill acquisition by various agencies of the government. And according to reports we have seen, out of the 95, 70 of them are from Gwoza community. So what's your take on reintegration of repentant Boko Haram members into the society? In 30 seconds.
When you do reintegration without necessarily putting into account some risk metrics that help you to establish whether or not PTSD and then, of course, the post-traumatic stress disorder has been taken care of, then to be very honest, you have done almost nothing. And again, that for me is one programming area within the debriefing system that is still very lacking. And I hope the system can also pay attention to that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on the news. Salaudeen Hashim, security expert, many thanks for your insight.
Thank you very much for having me.